Alright guys, I'm picking up where I left off from the last video. I noticed that over here on the left hand side I had my player in and my nodes mixed up a little bit. So if your projectile's not firing, you may have the same problem I do. So check your nodes. I moved them over here. The player holder should be in test world. Lighting should be in test world. In the last video we added the power-ups into the game, and they just kind of float there idly. And our satellite, it also just floats idly, but they're playing their animation. We programmed a button number 4 for debug 4, and we made it add a new satellite to the world. So what we're going to do, what you're going to need to have is working is everything I have here. And if you press 4, it should spawn a satellite. If you didn't do that right, you can go check the last video. But we're going to make this satellite choose a side, either the left or right, and then transition from the left to the right or from the right to the left. And then once we shoot it, we're going to make it where it gets destroyed, and then one of these 4 buffs fall down after it is destroyed. Let's get started by going to, first off, we'll go to the actual satellite holder. I'll let you take a look at this for just 1 second before. Here's our current code on the satellite holder. And then we can go to the actual satellite. Let's go to one of the satellites. Here we go. I guess I can do it from here. We'll go to satellite and its script. Alright, this is the satellite, and basically what it does is it's going to spawn a projectile. It's gonna spawn a power-up when it's destroyed. This object is that periodically appears and flies from one side of the screen to the other. When the satellite is destroyed, it will drop off buffs, allowing the player to have additional powers. Alright, I'm gonna add some stuff in here. So first we need the holder. That's the node that's gonna hold it. Then we need to know where the right and left side are. Now I put a left side and a right side. You'll see the code that I just pasted in. It has this little percent sign. That's a unique name, so we need to make sure these are uniquely named. So I'll right click on one of them and I'll say access as unique name. Access as unique name. Alright, now we need, let's just get it to where we can get it onto the world and traveling from one side to the other. So I'm going to add a couple more variables. I'm going to add an entity type, satellite, a time for us to travel, a starting point, and an ending point, and they're going to both be empty to start with. I'm also going to give us a random number generator. And then I'm going to also let us know that the satellite is working and online. So what I'm going to do is I like to make a print statement so I know that this stuff is actually happening. So anyway, whenever it gets spawned to the world, it's going to just print this so I know that it spawned, and it's going to play the animation. It's what it was doing before. Then we're going to have it choose a random, we're going to set up a travel location. So we'll say set up a object travel. And what we're going to do is we're going to have it choose a number from 0 to 1. So it's either going to choose 0 or 1, and that's going to decide where our start and ending locations are. So if it chooses 0, the starting point will be the left side, and if 0, the right side will be the ending point. And then it just does vice versa. So this one will be from left to right, and this one will be from right to left. Okay. Alright, when we first start, we're printing our name, we're picking the animation. I like to make it like a setup function that does that, so I'm going to throw this in here. So this is my initial setup. Instead of shoving everything into instead of shoving everything into the ready function, I kind of make another one. It's kind of redundant, but this is what I do. So the initial setup, I'm gonna tell it to do play the animation, and then I also want it to do this here, right here, set up the travel direction. And then there might be other stuff that I end up doing to it, and if I do, I'll stick it in here, and then this allows me to hide it, because there eventually can be quite a bit of stuff that goes in there. Alright, so we choose whether we're going left to right or right to left, and that's from right there, this generate number 0 or 1, and then it allows us to go into one of these two boxes. Alright, then what we're going to do is we're going to create a mover tween, and we're going to take our location, which is, we're going to take the satellite's location, and we're going to go find the starting point's global position, and we're going to make our position that starting point right there. So this mover tween, we create a mover tween, and then this, we set our location to where we want it to be, which is at the start point. Then we're going to tell the mover tween, I want you to make me move from my current location to the ending point location. And we want you to take a certain amount of time, travel time. At the top, I set the travel time to 8 seconds. I played around with it a little bit, you know, to find what I thought was a good amount of movement, or how much time it needed to be on the screen. If you want it to be on the screen longer, you can add more time. If you want it to be on the screen less time, just lower that, and it'll move a little bit faster. Alright, then I'm going to make a way to get rid of this object. So I need another function to actually get rid of it. This is used to remove the satellite without giving a buff. So this would basically mean the satellite traveled from one side of the screen to the other, and it never got shot, so it just needs to go away. When does this object expired need to happen? Well, it needs to happen when the mover tween finally makes it to the end. And there's a cool function that tweens have called tween callback, and this can call a function after it does all of its steps above. So after it gets finished moving here, I'm going to tell it to, hey, make yourself disappear. That's what that basically says right there. Okay, so now whenever we call that satellite, what's it going to do? Well, the very first thing it's going to do is print, hey, I'm here. Then it's going to call our setup function, which tells it, okay, play idle, and we want you to do this function right here. This function says pick a random number, 0 or 1, and based upon that, you'll set the starting and ending points. You'll create a mover tween. You'll set your position to the starting point, whichever one you decided over here, and then you're going to move towards the ending point, taking a certain amount of time. After you reach that point, make yourself disappear. If you don't put this step here, then you'll have a whole bunch of satellites slowing your game down. Alright, let's see if this works. What I would assume is about to happen is those satellites are no longer there. Ooh, looky there. So that satellite that I had initially put on the screen, it chose one of the sides, and then it did its little thing. So if I press 4, it looks like it's doing it again. Alright, it's for some reason it's going from the very middle instead of choosing the starting location correctly. So we're going to have to figure out why it's doing that. I can figure that out right quick. Alright, I figured out what was happening here. Okay, so if I push... Okay, I played the wrong one. Stop, play. So if I push it, it's spawning from the middle. Alright, what's happening is we want to go to our satellite holder here, open up the script. So it's creating the satellite right there, and then it waits a second and moves it to the middle. So this one right here is messing us up. We don't want this one anymore, so let's comment this one out. This can cause issues if we try to move the sat like this. Okay, so go to your satellite holder and remove this set location part. Alright, let's play again. The satellite's basically going to decide where it goes. So if I press 4, it will choose a side, either left or right, and then it will travel from one side to the other, and it's playing its little idle animation here. Also, when I create the satellite, I don't want it to only look in one single direction, like it's looking straight every single time. I want to have some variation for how it appears on the screen. So I made a little line of code that's going to just rotate it however it'll randomly rotate it. So check this line of code out. We can talk about how it works. It's basically saying go to yourself and get your rotation degrees. And if you look over here on the side, your rotation stuff, it gives you the rotation degrees right here. So if you look at these, X, Y, so X, Y, and Z. I'm using this RNG, random generator here, to give me a random X between negative 50 and 150, negative 50, 150. So I'm getting these random rotations. So that's so when we spawn it, it's also going to choose a random rotation. So it doesn't always look exactly the same when it comes into the world. So now if I push 4, you'll see that they're rotated in different angles and degrees. Now, if you don't want it to rotate on a certain axis, or you want it to only be in a couple positions, maybe you only want it to rotate a little bit for one of these, feel free to change these numbers. You can experiment by going to your satellite and just simply going to its transform and monkeying around with these numbers to figure out which numbers that you might like. Also, you have this right here, Euler. I think I like X, Y, Z. I think I like that. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff with these rotations. See, now I can rotate it this way. I think I like those. And that's the rotation order. It basically means that it rotates the X first, and then the Y, and then the Z. Or you could do rotate the Z first. You know, there's all the different variations. When you get into three-dimensional space, man, there's so much stuff you can monkey around with. But anyway, so you can get your difference. You can test your different angles there. You can make different changes here to see what direction it rotates on. Okay. Moving on. Now we're going to start trying to figure out how to... Oh, I didn't even realize whenever I paused it, I added something extra there. So I added power-ups, 1 up. So this will be the item that gets dropped from the ship. So I did a preload there. So I preloaded the item package. So you're going to need to add that. Alright, so let's make it where we can actually destroy it, and then an actual item will pop out. The way I'm going to do this is actually going to be a little bit... It's not going to be hard, but here we go. let's open up a new scene. It's a 3D scene, and you're going to call this one item package. Item underscore package. Inside of the item package, we're going to add a mesh. And I'm going to call this the default mesh. For my default mesh, I'm going to put in a cube when I find it. Box mesh. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it a color too. New standard material is what I clicked. Albedo, and I'm going to choose a green. So there I've got a green package. I'm going to add an area 3D, and I'm also going to add this shape in there as a collision shape. So add a collision shape, and the shape is going to just be the box shape. I think the shape is already matching the right size, so you shouldn't have to adjust it. It should just be right. I'm going to change this area 3D to detection zone, and I'm going to make this a unique name. Alright, this is going to be the item that we drop, and what we're going to do is we're going to, whenever it decides what it's going to be, we're going to put this image into this box. So every single time that you destroy the satellite, it's going to spawn this item package, and then the item package is going to decide, is it a rocket, is it this thing, spray shot, is it the corn, or is it the 1-up? So that's what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and save this. I'll do Control S, and I'm going to save this one next to the satellite called item package. Save. And then I'm going to add a script. I'm going to make sure it is next to it's in the scripts folder under scenes, objects, item package, create. And I'm going to say this is my item package. Alright. Save. Alright, we've got the item package in there. Now I'm going to start filling in some information here. I'm going to start off with the different items that this guy can be for me. So I made a dictionary, and I have the name of each item, the 1-up, the corn, the spray shot, or the rocket. Each one of those are in the location, scenes, objects, power-ups, and then the scene. So there's each one of the objects and where they are located, and you'll notice that this is all matching. They're all lowercase, all that good stuff. Then you'll see the sizes. I want a certain size for each one of these. I did it, this is the first time I did it, I changed the size right here. So we're going to do it on that too, but you might be able to save the size like we did on this other one where we went to it and actually changed it. So you'll see each scene that I opened up, the sizes are already changed. So we may or may not need that, but these are the different items that we could choose from. Alright, let's work on adding some more stuff. I've got these variables here. how long does it take to get from the satellite to the floor, how long will it last, that's the expiry time, where is the floor at, and then what is our ending point, it's basically where the floor is. Okay, and then I had a couple other things I added in here. Let me go ahead and add those. This is also going to need a couple things. I'm just gonna start filling it in. I'm not gonna fill in everything, but what do I want to add? Oh, I also need buff type. I'll pause it. Okay. After a bit of contemplating, I realize this is quite a bit, so I'm going to go over it as fast as I can. This is not going to work until the next video, so I guess you can use this as a point to write some stuff down. I'm probably going to also add a code for this that you can get to in Schoology. So these are basically your random buffs that you're choosing from. When it starts out, it uses default being just the regular old cube. Then the initial setup, it basically just starts it on its way. Wherever it gets created, wherever it's at, it sends it towards the floor. So maybe here I'll write moves the object to the floor. So we create a mover tween and we set the endpoint at the floor. You'll notice the Y is the same Y right there. Floor is 2. So wherever it gets created, we grab its X coordinate and we grab its Z coordinate, and those are going to be the same, but the Y coordinate is going to be always 2. So then it'll just move straight down to the floor. So it's going to travel, it's going to change its global position to the ending point, and the time it's going to take to get to the floor is 2 seconds. Once it reaches the floor, it will wait for some time. The amount of time that it will wait is right there. So after it waits that amount of time, then it will expire. It'll call this function right here, package expired. Perfect. Okay. This part right here, I commented out setup buff right here. This will allow the satellite to select one of them if you don't want to just like randomly choose. This one randomly chooses. So if you create it, it will select one of these randomly, and then it will set that one up. So here's the setup part. So if we come down here to the setup, what does it do? Well, it goes to all the lists of the different ones, and it selects the correct one. It adds it to the group of whichever buff it's supposed to be, and then it loads the whether it's the 1-up or the corn, it loads the correct one. It changes the size to be the correct size, and then whenever everything's ready, it loads it onto the picture. And this one deletes the old cube. So instead of it being the cube, it'll delete the cube and it'll replace it with the correct buff that you select right there. So the random buff will select one of those randomly and tell it, hey, load this random one. The random one will basically find it and set it up and change what's on the screen. Alright, there's not a lot for us to do in this video because I've run out of time now. I'm going to go to the next video and we're going to make it move to the floor. And I'm going to load this in Schoology so you guys can have this.